Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have with us the governor of the great state of North Carolina, Governor Pat Mccrory. We know Pat Mccrory. We've worked with him over the years while he was campaigning. While he was campaigning, he was seeking to understand the issues facing North Carolina farmers and facing our industry. He made it a point, Governor Mccrory made it a point to come to our office on several occasions on Glenwood Avenue to ask questions, to listen, and to learn, not only about agriculture, but about our organization as well. I hope that you agree with me tonight, because I feel that agriculture and Farm Bureau has a friend in the governor's mansion. We look forward to working with the governor and his staff so that our industry will continue to be a bright spot in the state's economy, helping to move North Carolina forward. You know our governor. You know he served as mayor of Charlotte for an unprecedented 7 terms. He grew up in Jamestown. He had a stellar business career in this state. But now, Governor Mccrory, if you would allow me, I'd like to introduce you, your audience, to you this evening. These approximately 300 Farm Bureau leaders representing 87 counties will visit the state legislature tomorrow morning to present agriculture's viewpoints on the issues that are critical to us. In addition to being active farmers and ranchers, these men and women in this audience tonight, Governor, are leaders in their communities. They're leaders in their counties, in their churches, in their political parties, in their civic and social organizations. They are county commissioners, they're school board members, they're soil and water supervisors, they're electric co-op board members, they're precinct chairs, they're Sunday school teachers and superintendents, they're bank board directors, they're mayors, they're volunteer firemen and rescue personnel, they're chairs of boards of election, and most of all, they're parents and grandparents committed to strong families and prospering communities. They are leaders in business as both employees and employers. They are actively involved through Farm Bureau and other organizations in knowing what's happening in North Carolina, especially rural North Carolina. Governor, your audience tonight, these Farm Bureau leaders are the people who make our great state the state that it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you His Excellency, the Governor of the great state of North Carolina, Governor Pat Mccrory.
Thank you very much. What an honor to be back talking to the Farm Bureau, this time not as a candidate, but as a governor of the greatest state in the United States of America, North Carolina. Paul Newby, Judge, it's great to see you here. Most of you don't know, but Paul Newby and I went to high school together in Jamestown, North Carolina. One of us was valedictorian of the class. What are y'all laughing about? I don't know why that gets a laugh every time, Newby. Well, it's better to have the smarter guy in the Supreme Court anyway, you know. Newby's a great guy, and I'm so glad you reelected him to the Supreme Court. He's just an excellent jurist. He's a man of great values. He's very smart, and he's a great friend. Also, it's great to see my Cabinet Secretary of Diener, John Scavarla. I heard he spoke to you earlier today. Let me tell you, I am so proud of my cabinet, and I'm especially proud of this guy. If you heard him today, I didn't hear his speech, but I guarantee you he convinced you that he knows the subject at hand, he believes in customer service, and he understands that we have to treat you as customers, not as adversaries. And that's exactly the order I gave John when he took over Diener, and that's exactly the way we're going to treat you. We're going to treat you as customers, not as adversaries, out of state departments, out of any executive branch department. And this guy is one of the best. He is already making a difference. You wouldn't believe some of the, I'll give you an example. Just in the last 3 weeks, we were dealing with a major company in the Forsyth County area, a major company who was wanting to build a major manufacturing plant out in the Greenland, and they've been waiting to get their permits for over a year. And it's been costing them $1 million a month. And the CEO and the chairman of this company had to fly down to see me to say, what in the heck are y'all doing in North Carolina? It's as though you don't even want our business. And this was a major, major outfit, and a guy who started the company from nothing. He's 80-some years old, the man who runs the company, and to have to make him fly to see the governor to get action was inexcusable. But all I did was call John. And after I met with the guy for 15 minutes, I said, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I hired someone who does. He took him to another room. They're handling it. The company is very satisfied, and we're finally going to start hiring people for that plant. We're going to get the permitting process done, and that's what North Carolina government should be all about. He understood it immediately. So John Scavarla, thank you for your willingness to serve North Carolina, and thanks for joining our cabinet. He's a team member, and I'm so proud to have him on our team. Let me briefly tell you that it's good to be in Raleigh today. It's good to be back home in North Carolina, because I've been in Washington for 4.5 days, and it is a mess. Let me give you a quick update on what's happening, because it may impact you. And I gave a quick update at NC State today in front of a group of people in academia and business, and I'm being very direct and being very blunt with everyone, exactly what I'm seeing in North Carolina government and what I'm seeing happening in Washington and what I think needs to change. So I'm not beating around the bush at all on my direct talk now that I'm governor. But the fact of the matter is, in Washington right now, they're trying to take the easy way out. They're trying to cut their budget just across the board by the same percentage. And they're playing some accounting gimmicks in doing it. They're playing some politics right now. And the fact of the matter is, they aren't showing strong executive leadership. And that's what we need now more than ever. I've been in a room, I was in a room for 2.5 hours today. I'm going to be in a room 2.5 hours tomorrow and 3 hours the next day, going line by line on North Carolina's budget, including John's budget and Diener. Line by line on Health and Human Services budget, line by line on Commerce's budget, line by line on every department in North Carolina government. I'm going through the books, and it's not fun, but that's my job. And I've already gotten their recommendations, and now after hearing their recommendations, I'm marking things off or adding things on, and I'm taking accountability for those final decisions in our $20 billion budget. That's what executives are doing across this nation in state capitals at this point in time. I was with Chris Christie and Scott Walker and Bob McDonnell in Virginia, and Nikki Haley in South Carolina. Every one of us are going through this process, making the tough decisions, because that's what we are elected to do. Even the stuff that's not fun, you got to do it. And that's what the governors asked the president and Congress to start doing. Get in a room and do your work. And that's exactly what we should demand of our leadership right now in Washington. We're getting very mixed signals in Washington at this point in time. I was at the White House 2 different occasions this week. Sunday night, we had an elegant black tie dinner with a military band and a 5-course meal. And it was quite incredible. I mean, you love your country, you love going to the White House, and you love the interaction and knowing the history in that beautiful, beautiful building. But it was as though there was nothing wrong. And then the very next morning, we go back to the exact same room at 9 o'clock in the morning, and on front of every governor's seat, just like in a little smaller room than this, we had all the 50 governors. They had in front of us where the cuts are going to occur due to the impasse that's happening in Washington right now, the sequestration. Now, the bad news is the media got the list before the governors. So when we walked out of that meeting, the media was asking our opinion on the cuts in each one of our states, and none of us had seen it yet, but the media had already seen it. At the same time that they're asking us to make these cuts in our states, the federal government is asking me to expand the Medicaid program in North Carolina and also to continue to expand unemployment benefits in North Carolina. At the exact same time, they're asking me to grow government. On one hand, they're asking me to reduce the size of government in another, with no sense of priority whatsoever. And I let the administration know this in a very respectful way. And I'm making some tough decisions, some that you may have disagreed with in the past 3 weeks. I made the difficult decision, which does impact you right now in the farming community, in the agriculture community. I decided that I did not want to continue to tax you to pay interest to pay for unemployment. Because right now you owe the federal government $2.4 to $2.5 billion. Did you know that? If you run a business right now, you owe the federal government $2.4 to $2.5 billion for unemployment compensation that we borrowed from the federal government during the past 3 to 4 years. And that interest is building, and we're taxing you more money right now. We're taxing you to pay the interest on the debt, and we're not paying any money down on the principal. So in my first 5 weeks, I had to make a decision. Do we accept continuing to pay that debt and even increasing that debt by extending unemployment, which is what Washington wants me to do at this point in time, or say, you know what, that strategy is not working. We have the 5th highest unemployment rate in the country right now. If we continue this, it doesn't seem to work. Let's try a different strategy. Let's pay off our debt, reduce the benefits equal to what they're getting in South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia, right next door, and see if we have a change in our unemployment rate based upon that decision and put more money in your pocket. And that's the decision we made. I might add that the head of the Department of Labor in my meeting on Monday morning, yesterday morning, my days are confused, sorry. Yesterday morning, they just happened to have the Department of Labor sit next to me, the head of the Department of Labor, and literally say, we disagree with that policy and we're going to challenge your policy's ability, your ability as governor to reduce your unemployment compensation and not accept the extension of unemployment. And I let him know we strongly disagree with your interpretation and that we're going to fight you on this one with all due respect, because I said, I will let you do that if you forgive our businesses $2.5 billion deficit. He said, we can't do that. And I said, I didn't think you'd give me that. I didn't think you'd pay it back, make me pay it back. They're making me pay it back, and they should. And they should, because the state of North Carolina borrowed it. And I believe in paying back the debt, but I don't like paying back debt with interest. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So you're going to suffer a little pain in the next 1.5 to 2 years paying off the debt, but you're paying on principal now instead of interest. In addition, some of the people who are getting unemployment now are not going to have as high as benefits. But that's so we preserve the system for the next generation and for those in need as we go through future down cycles. So I'm not stepping on the toes to cause pain. I'm stepping on the toes to prevent future pain being even greater. And these are the tough decisions that are being made in the state capitals right now. And it does impact your business right now. Short term, it's going to hurt. Long term, it'll help your long-term business plan and your financing. The second thing that we decided to do is not extend Medicaid. Because right now, I just got an audit in the 3rd week in my office that we have about a little over $2 billion of overcost in our Medicaid system in North Carolina. That's adult money. Would you agree? So instead of growing the system that's being requested in Washington, I said, why don't we fix the current system we have right now and reform it? And that was another very, very difficult decision, because in the short term, they kind of say, we're giving you free money for 3 years. Free money. I'm turning down, quote, free money to expand Medicaid. And it's a very tempting offer. The dilemma is, after 3 years, the state of North Carolina, which means you, are going to have to pay 10% of that cost. And what I don't know at this point in time, which let me, as I went through thorough evaluation, was 10% of what? We don't know that answer. And therefore, I had to reject that request from the federal government at this point in time, because we did not have the answers to basic financial questions which could impact the taxpayers and businesses of North Carolina for the next decade. Again, it was not an easy decision, but it's the tough decisions that I think leaders are expected to do. And I'm going to continue to do it. But we've got to fix some broken systems in state government right now. When North Carolina's Medicaid system is paying $6,000 per patient versus the average to be $4,000 per client, we've got a problem, and we've got to fix it. And North Carolina is better than that. That means money is going to administration instead of money going to the people in need. And that means that's money being spent out of your pocket and costing you in business. And we can no longer afford to do that. We've got to fix it. Let me briefly tell you also that I'm going to continue to push for energy exploration in North Carolina. As you know, and you're our lifeblood of the economy, especially in rural North Carolina right now. You're the ones keeping us alive, and I think you're our best chance to grow out of this recession right now, the agricultural community. No ands, ifs, or buts. But I also think energy production is another way, and North Carolina has to get into the energy business. I'm looking at other governors in Pennsylvania and Ohio and the Dakotas where they're doing gas exploration, and the unemployment rate has just dropped to half of what we are, and even less than that. Half of what Ohio is 3 to 4% less unemployment than North Carolina. Ohio. Do I have to say that one more time? It's because they got into energy exploration just in the past 2 years. I've asked the president, and I personally asked the president yesterday morning that we'd like your help in joining myself and Governor McDonald and Governor Nikki Haley in South Carolina to begin a process to start offshore exploration off the Atlantic coast, where we can then use that money to help replenish our roads, to help replenish our education systems, to help replenish our beaches. And not only that, but create thousands of new jobs and help our energy independence in our country. We did not get the answer we wanted. But I guarantee you Governor McDonald, myself, and Nikki Haley are going to continue to press this administration. They're hiring a new Interior Secretary in the next 2 weeks to say, if you really want to rebuild this economy, let's get into the energy business in the entire country, not just parts of this country. So these are some of the issues that we're having to deal with in Washington. The sequestration, we reviewed the document coming out of the executive branch this morning when I got home, and we found out the following. First of all, North Carolina government will not be impacted this budget year whatsoever. We have already spent most of the federal money given to us. I've done the checking on the budget. Believe me, the past administration spent the money. We've taken and allocated that money already in all areas of education, in EPA, the environment, you name it. We've taken all the federal grants. Where the impact might begin is in the July time period where the new budget begins. We do not anticipate any impact on education this school year. If it continues, we do anticipate an impact in next school year, and we're going to have to make the tough decisions. The areas that are probably going to be immediately hit are the areas in or around our military bases, Jacksonville, for example, or Fayetteville, the Cherry Point area, and so forth. And we're going to have, I think it's about 23,000 to 29,000 civilian jobs that are probably going to be furloughed, where they'll have to be off work 1 day out of 5 days, which is about a 20% pay cut. That, therefore, will impact the economy of those areas probably pretty quickly. So we're going to have to make adjustments there. We anticipate already, we did some calculations, that's probably going to impact our state budget by $6 to $8 million just on income tax alone. It may impact some of your businesses also, because there's going to be less buying power. So that is our greatest concern at this point in time. But I'm telling you this, the governors are telling Congress and Washington, make the cuts based upon priorities, just like you have to do every day in your businesses. And you're the ultimate entrepreneur. The farming community is the ultimate entrepreneur. You know markets better than any New York trader, because you're trying to have to decide when to sell and when to hold and when to buy. And I know you're guessing at the market all the time. And that's the type of spirit that we have to have in North Carolina. Very quickly, we're continuing to concentrate on 3 major functions in this administration. Number 1 is the economy. And we're looking at tax reform. We're even looking at some of the estate taxes, which impact your businesses a great deal as family farms are transferred. We're looking at ways to make that easier and more affordable. We're comparing that also to how that will impact some of the federal estate taxes. So we're going through that examination right now, which is very, very important to the farming community. We are also looking at tax reform, trying to lower at a minimum the income tax, which impacts a lot of small businesses, and the corporate tax. Because right now we are not competitive with our neighbors, South Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee, and those 2 taxes that impact productivity more than anything else. And what we want to do is develop a tax system which rewards productivity as opposed to punishing productivity. The second thing we're concentrating on is education. And you have told me in your community very strongly that, Governor, do not give up on vocational education. And I'm a big advocate of vocational education. The Chief Justice and I grew up and went to high school right across the street from Guilford Technical Institute. We used to call it GTI back in the 60s and 70s. And I firmly believe that there are great career paths equal to college career paths in vocational education. And as of in the past week, I signed my very first bill, which we've been pushing for 4 years as a candidate, as a non-governor, and now as governor, a bill which has 2 different separate paths in a high school education. One is a degree targeting a 4-year college degree, and another one is a track toward vocational training and further education. Both are equal to success. And I think the market needs both of those, including your industry, because we got to have people that can fix things and repair things and build things now more than ever, especially as the baby boom ages out of the market. And we got to find the 20-year-olds right now who like to do the same thing and encourage them to get in that type of business, including the farming business. And we think there's great potential to build the vocational workforce in North Carolina and use that as a recruitment tool to bring new industries in North Carolina. Also, regarding the farming industry, and this is more related to the ag industry, also, we just passed a piece of legislation 2 weeks ago, which is going to allow refrigeration at the Wilmington port. We don't even have refrigeration at the Wilmington port for products in North Carolina to export across to other countries. We're going to get refrigeration in Wilmington so we can put our meat and other areas of refrigeration in storage before they're loaded onto ships. This will make our ports and exports much stronger. I also want to let you know I've made this commitment. As your governor, when I take commerce trips overseas, my main emphasis will not be necessarily bringing new industry to North Carolina. My main focus will be exporting made in North Carolina products, including agricultural products, including tobacco. Because when we increase exports, that means our businesses in North Carolina grow. And you make more money, you hire more people, you make more money, you contribute to the economy, and North Carolina then is long-term, has a sustainable economy. It is through exports. And that's what when I go to China, when I go to India, I'm going to sell your products with our great agricultural commissioner. And we're going to work together as a team. The last thing I do want to talk about is government efficiency. And this is one reason I brought John Scavara. We are looking at the entire processes of government, how many employees we have, the process in which they work, the information systems that don't talk to each other, and other types of items that are really impacting a broken government, which we have in several operational ways right now. And our goal is to fix it. My first 6 weeks in office, I've spent about 80% of my time on two things. One is the budget, and the second thing is the basic day-to-day operations of state government. And I've instructed my cabinet members, all 8 of them, come back and tell me how you're going to improve the operations for a lower price but higher quality and better customer service. And that's our goal. We don't have any choice. We don't have any new money that's going to fall out of the trees. We've got to do things better in North Carolina because I plan, with your help, to beat the competition and to grow jobs and to make your industry thrive. I want to thank you for your entrepreneurial spirit. I want to thank you for putting food on my table. And I want to thank you for contributing so much to the towns and counties and to this great state of North Carolina. Thank you, and may God bless each one of you.